Hello and welcome to another edition of In the News, a Voice of Nigeria interview program where we bring personalities to talk on issues that make news headlines both at home and abroad. My name is Godwin Ukar, your host. You can also listen to this program if you go to our website of www.von.gov.ng. You can also go through our phone mobile app, as well as go through Simple Radio, TuneIn Radio, and Radio Back. We're on Facebook. All you need to do is just go there and search for Von Newscast, and you'll be part of this edition of In the News and other Voice of Nigeria programs. My guest is a personality you would love to meet. He is Vladislav Panev, Deputy Chairman of the Parliamentary Group, continuing the Change Democratic Bulgaria, Deputy Chairman of the Committee of Economic Policy and Innovation. He's here in Nigeria all the way from Bulgaria. Sir, welcome to Voice of Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
We'll just take a little brief about Bulgaria and then we'll get back to him. Bulgaria is the 16th largest country in Europe. Sofia city is the capital. The country sits on 110,994 square kilometers. Bulgaria is bounded by Romania to the north, with most of the border marked by the lower Danube River. The Black Sea lies to the east, Turkey and Greece to the south, North Macedonia to the southwest, and Serbia to the west. Bulgaria operates a parliamentary democracy and is a member state of the European Union since 2007. It has a parliamentary unicameral system which comprises the National Assembly made up of 240 directly elected deputies. The Bulgarian president is also directly elected by the people. That's a brief about Bulgaria. Once again, I have my special guest, Vladislav
Panev.
Vladislav Panev, yes indeed. Deputy Chairman of the Parliamentary Group continuing the Change Democratic Bulgaria, Deputy Chairman and the Committee of Economic Policy and Innovation. Once again, sir, welcome to Voice of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir.
Now, you are in Nigeria under the urges of the Nigeria-Bulgaria Parliamentary Friendship Group. You want to tell us the aim for this visit?
We have strong traditions in our relations between Nigeria and Bulgaria, dating from 60 years ago, directly after the independence of Nigeria. Our construction companies, our constructors, took part in the building infrastructure of Nigeria back in the 70s, 80s, and until the middle of 90s. Some of the roads of energy infrastructure, even the cultural center, the theater, the National Theater in Lagos, were built by Bulgarian constructors. Thousands of Nigerian students studied in Bulgarian University, including a senator and other prominent people right now. So I believe that after decades of slowing down the relationships between the two great countries, they will develop again and reach new heights.
You know, Bulgaria is one of the largest democracies in Europe, just as Nigeria is in Africa. I wonder, what are those high points of convergence that we could, learn for the growth of democracy to the both countries?
Last 2 or 3 decades, the primary goal of Bulgaria was to become a member of EU, of NATO, and now of the Schengen Agreement for free movement of people. We reached those goals, and that's why, with the help of the European Union, we managed to make a fairly good transition from communist system to a parliamentary democracy. That's why now we have a very healthy parliamentary democracy and a parliament which is fairly elected by the people. Now we have 6 parties in the parliament and they compete with each other on a fairly on a good basis. So I believe that Bulgaria is now a functioning democracy and it's from the good side of the history, let's say.
From the transition from communism to democracy today, how would you say there have been great changes? What would you say the difference has been to the betterment of Bulgaria?
To the better, there were many difficulties during the transition period, since many people used to live during the communist regime. And if you are 40 or 50 years old in 1989, it's quite a stressful quite stressful for you to live in a completely different system. The ownership of everything was like 100% state-owned until 1989, so we had to fairly quickly transition to a private property, to respect the property of the people and the companies. It wasn't an easy process, not only in Bulgaria but in all other ex-communist countries.
So how has the resistance been like, especially for the world powers who were in communist? You're trying to leave communism. I mean, how resistance was it?
Well, the communist system collapsed in the late 80s and early 90s, so there was practically no resistance since even the Soviet Union disbanded. The problems were internal, mostly internal, since this is quite a change. We became a communist country in 1944, and then the change was from a private-owned property to state-owned property, not only land but also companies, trades and everything. So it's quite a change, and it was internal difficulties mostly, not that external ones, due to the political environment in Europe at that time.
Let's look at Bulgaria operates a parliamentary camera system, while Nigeria operates a presidential bicameral system. How can both countries learn from each other for the development of both countries?
Well, these are the two types of democracy: parliamentary system, in which the president, as you said, in Bulgaria is directly elected by the people, but he has no real power in Bulgaria. The real power is in the parliament, who the parliament chooses the government, controls the government, and can change the government. Nigerian system is mostly like the system in the USA or in France, let's say, where the president has more power than the parliament. And this is, I think it doesn't matter how exactly the system is, the thing is to function well.
But let's look at, you are from Europe, where we knew of the issue of some European countries leaving the exit and all that. But of course, we see that most times the African countries try to learn from the democracies of this other Western world. But
for me,
democracy should it just be the way it is in other, or you have to look at the means of having your own democracy that will be of impact, or how it could develop with your own system? What's your take on that?
I think the reason for the relative prosperity of Europe in the last decades is the free movement of people, trade, investments. The free trade means that every country can specialize in the things it is good at. For example, Bulgaria is good in tourism. We have millions of visitors every year, in machinery, in electricity sector, energy sector as a whole. So we can export in terms of billions US dollars per month to other European countries as well as out of Europe. I think the way Africa can become more prosperous in the next decades is open borders, open trade, because the history shows that this is the reason why, this is the way countries can prosper. And I mean, I think Africa made few steps for reaching this goal. I mean, the trade is freer than it was 10 years ago. The visa regimes with other African countries within the African continent is more liberalized than it was before.
How can you just mention very vital areas of your country's development? Tourism. Nigeria has a lot of landmarks, of tourism landmarks scattered all over, the federation. How can we learn from your experience to turn our tourist sites to, a venture that will be making money from other countries?
Well, the country can develop its tourist sector if it has a proper infrastructure, and Bulgarian companies can help Nigeria in building such. Besides the infrastructure, the visa regime, of course, with neighboring countries, and not only with neighboring countries, can be a bit more relaxed in order to attract the people to come to Nigeria and see its really beautiful landmarks here. And the other is, I think these are the main things: infrastructure and visa regime.
So how
transport connections, of course.
Now, how can Bulgaria, take advantage? You did mention the issue of the National Theatre in Lagos that was built by Bulgaria, and I know so many other companies that who doing business in Nigeria. How can you're here for this visit? What are those high points you're going to bring from Bulgaria to continue from where some ventures that have not been very featured in the past?
Well, there's a lot of nostalgia in Bulgaria for Africa. I mean, when I published on Facebook pictures from Nigeria today, a friend of mine just wrote me that his father worked in constructed the National Theatre in Lagos. So there is a nostalgia, and I think that that's one of the pillars which will drive the Bulgarian economy, Bulgarian businesses back into Nigeria. There's also nostalgia in Nigeria because thousands of Nigerians studied in Bulgarian universities, and these connections can last for a long time. I mean, really Bulgarian companies in the last decade specialized in building not only roads and railways, but also electricity grids and machineries and IT technologies, renewable energy, so we can be useful for Nigeria to build its infrastructure, its economy, its industry.
Nigeria has been disadvantaged most times when it comes to the negative publicity Nigeria receives in the outside world. And what was the impression when you came to Nigeria and see? Was it exactly what you normally see from foreign negative perception, or what was it? What was the impression when you came to Nigeria? I don't know if this is your first time.
It's my first time in Nigeria, but it's maybe my 30th time in Africa. So I traveled throughout Africa a lot.
What was your impression when you came to Nigeria? Because some will tell you, I can't go to Nigeria based on the negative perception most people have.
Negative perception, yes, for people who come for first time in Africa. When you're used to travel here in this beautiful continent, you know that there are some difficulties, of course. Even the weather is too hot now for us. It's a winter in Bulgaria, and it's minus 10 degrees. It can be minus 10 degrees during this time of the year. But otherwise, the people are very friendly in Africa. So if you come more in touch with the people, then you will feel great here. Of course, there are problems in Nigeria regarding the security, but I think you will overcome this with overcoming the economic situation here.
I know, in terms of security-wise, it's a global phenomenon. Everyone has his own perspective of its own security problems in other countries. How can your country be able to help Nigeria in this area of curbing insecurity?
I believe Bulgaria had such security problems back in the 90s when we had a transition from communism to democracy.
Why were you able to come out of it?
Because our GDP then was like $1,000 per person, very low. Now the GDP is $16,000 per person. So I mean, when people got richer but got more wealthy, then the crime, the security problems practically disappear. So if Nigeria's economy is performing better, I mean the people will have more jobs, more well-paid jobs, and then the security problems will be much lower than they are now.
Of recent, there had been clamor for Nigeria to return to parliamentary system. You're already practicing. What lessons can we learn from your system?
Not to be afraid of that, because when there is a parliamentary system, there are even fightings between the different parties in the parliament. There is competition, but also there is cooperation between the parties, because there is no other way for the parliament to exist and to function well. So don't be afraid of parliamentary democracy or president democracy, because I believe they can function well. They can both function well, and so I'm not sure I can give you advice for this, because Nigeria had a proper parliamentary system from the 60s. We have from 1990.
There are bilateral trade, especially in ensuring that comparative advantages, economic comparative advantages, where both countries could benefit from what in your parliament and in your legislations. What are you doing
Well, I think the cooperation first can be mutually beneficial between the both countries. This visit by the Bulgarian Parliament here in Abuja will be not worthy if it is not followed by visits by Bulgarian and Nigerian businessmen, if we don't increase the number of Nigerian students studying in Bulgarian universities, because their number now is quite low. There are about 200 students only currently in Bulgaria. There used to be thousands of Nigerian students back 30 years ago or something. So I believe that Bulgaria has...
So why do you reduce numbers? Is it that Bulgarians have refused to allow them, or what's the reason for that?
I believe that when Bulgaria changes its system in the middle of the 1990s, our primary goal was to become members of EU and NATO, and then Schengen Agreement, which will become members just in 1 month from March 31st. So when our primary goal became so Eurocentric, we somehow, and also Bulgaria got much poorer than in the 1980s. I told you that our GDP was just $1,000 per capita. So we became to increase our relations with the European Union, with Western Europe. Now our turnover trade with Western Europe is in billions of US dollars per month, not per year. I think after we become members of Schengen Agreement this month, on March 2024, it's the right time to turn our eyes back to Africa, because we have traditions here, we have industries which are competitive on African soil and also in European soil, and we can help Africa and Nigeria in particular to develop its infrastructure, because the infrastructure is the backbone of economic development and of wealth of all Nigerian citizens.
In specific terms, I know that there are various economic areas of your interest, but in specific terms, which area is your interest in Nigeria where you intend to really explore or have specific direction?
Well, we have Bulgarian companies which are market leaders in so many sectors, but for Nigeria, I think that we have great traditions in building infrastructure here, but also in the pharmaceutical sector, in energy sector, especially renewable energy, electricity grid, also education, so engineering, machinery. We have so many sectors which are booming right now. I mean, the GDP of Bulgaria is really growing fast, much faster than the average in Europe or world average. So I believe that the picture now is completely different than it was 30 years ago, and really the relations between Nigeria and Bulgaria and the trade between both countries can be much, much higher than it used to be in the last decades.
So what's likely going to be your major area of discussion at this Nigeria-Bulgaria Parliamentary Committee that you'll be meeting with?
We already met the parliamentary group in Nigeria with friends in Bulgaria. But the discussions will continue even when we come back to Bulgaria. We already have questions from Bulgarian companies in the financial sector, even in the energy sector, defense industry as well. So I believe that these relations, if we try and attract Bulgarian companies to invest here, and our counterparts from Nigerian Parliament attract their companies, your companies to be partners with Bulgarian ones, it will be great for both countries. And this process already began thanks to the extraordinary ambassador Yankovic, Bulgarian ambassador in Nigeria. He's doing a great job here, which is really beneficial for both countries.
So then what would be your take-home? You've said what would be your take-homes from Nigeria to your country?
It will be that Bulgaria is back. Bulgaria is back to Africa, back in Nigeria, and now is the right moment to invest here, since for me Africa is the new Asia. Where Asia was 30 years ago, it was practically the economical development at which Africa is now. And I believe in 30 years Africa will be like Asia is now. I mean, you know that China is very well developed already with high technologies and everything. South Korea the same, and many other Asian countries. are doing a great job. I believe that if Africa has better infrastructure and Bulgaria can help, if it has better industry and Bulgaria can help, better education and Bulgaria can help, it will be very beneficial and Africa will really have a great future. And also the open trade, that's very important. Not only between Africa and Europe, but within Africa itself.
We're talking specifically Africa. How has your relationship outside Nigeria been with other African countries?
Unfortunately, we have very few embassies right now in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa. Maybe we have only 2 in Nigeria and South Africa. So that can show you how important Nigeria is for Bulgaria right now. Our ambassador is responsible for other 20 African nations, I think. But I believe that last year I visited parliaments of and some officials in 3 African countries, Cote d'Ivoire, Benin and Angola. I think that the relations between Bulgaria and those countries can develop quite well, but Nigeria is at the center since our embassy is here.
The economic downturn is a global phenomenon, which I know that it's not just Africa, it's all over the world.
It's also affecting Europe, yeah.
But I do know that even with Europe being affected, you've been able to come up with legislative strategies that has sustained your economy. Tell us what the secret has been like.
The critical problem for Bulgaria is the corruption and the good governance for the last years. So last 2 years we made critical steps for improving that. We changed our constitution just recently, 2.5 months ago. We changed our judiciary laws, so in order the general prosecutor to be responsible for his actions before the court. And I believe that this can help Bulgaria be much more competitive, to be more investment friendly, and private property to be more respected by Bulgarian laws, Bulgarian courts. So I believe we are on the right side of the history and doing the right steps in order to maintain our functioning democracy.
So how can some of those strategies you employ that is helping you reach out to us in Nigeria and even Africa?
I already told about the openness of the borders, of the trade, the building infrastructure. These are the crucial elements for Nigerian prosperity. The other is the good governance. So you have to concentrate. That's my point of view, of course. I'm not in a position to give Nigerian government advice, but every country has to focus on better governance. It's really crucial in this competitive world, because every country is competing, not only cooperating between each other, but also competing with each other for investments.
Your final message to
the diaspora, the Nigerian students who studied in Bulgaria now, they are an essential part of the Nigerian politics or Nigerian business, Nigerian medicine sector. They can be ambassadors of Bulgaria and ambassadors for maintaining good relations in our whole nations.
You've been listening to In the News, watching it on Facebook. In the News is Voice of Nigeria into the program where we bring personalities to talk on issues around the news headlines both at home and abroad. And I've been talking with a very special personality from Bulgaria, Vladislav Panev, Deputy Chairman of the Parliamentary Group, Continuing the Change and Bulgaria, Deputy